The movie starts with Alethea, a lonely British scholar, traveling to Istanbul to give a talk about the relationship between science and myths. When she arrives, she notices a strange glowing man who tries to guide her luggage cart towards something he calls mystery. However, when Alethea's colleagues arrive, the man quickly disappears. Alethea tells her friends about the incident, and they playfully suggest that she might have seen a Djinn, a mythical creature. During the conference, Alethea sees another glowing man in the audience, but nobody else seems to notice him. As she begins to explain her theory that the ancient gods have become the basis of science and myths now serve as metaphors, the strange man interrupts her, calling it nonsense. He jumps on her, causing her to lose consciousness. When she wakes up a few minutes later, her colleagues take her to her room while the audience applauds. After the conference, Alethea decides to explore downtown Istanbul and visit antique shops, despite her friends' concerns. She comes across a small blue bottle in one of the shops and decides to buy it instead of something more extravagant. The next morning, she washes the bottle and manages to open it, unleashing a Djinn that takes up most of the room. After trying different languages, Alethea discovers that the Djinn can speak Greek. He assures her that she shouldn't be afraid and explains that he is now bound to fulfill her 3 wishes. However, there are some limitations. She cannot ask for more wishes, eternal life, or an end to all suffering. As the Djinn interacts with the room, he turns on the TV and learns English through the broadcasts.
Transmitters.
He then asks Alethea to share her heart's desires, but she feels uncomfortable with the idea and needs time to think. She begins by revealing a part of her past that she has never shared with anyone before. When she was a child studying at an all-girls boarding school, she was always alone. One day, a mysterious boy with supernatural abilities started visiting her whenever she was struggling. They would communicate in a language known only to them, and the boy would tell her stories. Uncertain about how long he would stay, Alethea documented their encounters, but as she tried to add more realism, she began to doubt herself and eventually burned all the records in the school furnace. Since that day, she never saw the boy again. During their conversation, Alethea's breakfast arrives, but she refrains from opening the door until the Djinn disappears. After indicating her desire for privacy with a "Do Not Disturb" sign, Alethea turns around and is amazed to find the Djinn has shrunk in size and transformed the ordinary hotel breakfast into a grand feast. To buy herself some time before deciding on her wishes, Alethea asks the Djinn how he ended up inside the bottle. The Djinn explains that this is his 3rd imprisonment, as he has always been foolish when it comes to engaging in conversations with women. The Djinn recounts his history, which began when he entered into a relationship with his cousin, Sheba, who was the queen of the land and part Djinn. Sheba possessed thick black hair on her legs. The Djinn was both her companion and her source of confidence, and although he felt a sense of freedom in their relationship, he hoped to become her husband one day. However, their lives changed when King Solomon arrived and pursued Sheba's affections. The Djinn warned Sheba about Solomon, but she succumbed to his charms and even removed her leg hair with wax to spend the night with him after their wedding. Solomon sensed the Djinn's connection to Sheba and, using his magical abilities, imprisoned him inside a brass bottle. The bottle was then entrusted to a bird, which dropped it in the middle of the Red Sea. Being a Djinn, the Djinn did not require sleep, so for the first 100 years of his captivity, he raged against his fate and prayed to every god imaginable for his freedom. In the end, he tricked himself and prayed to remain in the bottle, hoping that by pretending not to desire anything, he could alleviate his suffering. Unfortunately, for Djinn, lacking desires is akin to a form of death. Returning to the topic of Alethea's desires, she explains that she is successful and has everything she needs, even though she does not have children, parents, or siblings. She was previously married to a man she met in school, but their relationship fell apart after she had a miscarriage, leading to their divorce. Her husband moved out and started a new relationship, but Alethea still keeps some of his belongings in a box at home. At one point, her husband had told her that she was incapable of understanding emotions, and she agrees. Her brain functions in a way that makes her intelligent but also causes her to feel lonely. This is why she finds solace in stories, as they allow her to connect with emotions. Alethea does not wish to reunite with her husband, as she felt a sense of freedom after their divorce. However, as a storyteller, she has heard many cautionary tales about the consequences of Djinn's wishes and how they often come with unforeseen catches. The Djinn assures her that he is honorable, but Alethea remains skeptical and ponders whether she should make no wishes at all. This made Djinn feel great pain, confirming that wishes must be made carefully to avoid bad consequences.
I need to tell you about my next incarceration.
To emphasize this point, Djinn shares the story of his second capture. Fishermen discovered the bottle inside a fish, but since it had a hard covering, they mistook it for a rock and threw it away. The rock changed hands several times until it became part of a wall, where a woman named Gulten found it while attempting to climb and spy on Prince Mustafa. Gulten worked as a slave in the palace courtyard for concubines. When she opened the bottle and discovered Djinn, she fainted. Upon waking up, she knew exactly what she wanted to wish for. She desired to become one of Mustafa's concubines. Djinn granted her wish, and Gulten relished her new life, keeping the bottle hidden beneath a heavy floor tile in a secret bathroom. As Djinn wandered the palace, he learned about humans and became aware of Hurrem, who was the Sultan's favorite slave. Hurrem manipulated the situation to ensure her own sons would succeed to the throne instead of Mustafa. She had many spies watching the prince closely. Djinn worried that Gulten might become entangled in a dangerous political scheme, so he tried to warn her. However, she did not listen and wished to become pregnant with Mustafa's child. Meanwhile, the Sultan's warriors were concerned that their leader was becoming too soft and contemplated undermining him. Hurrem heard of this and falsely accused Mustafa of planning to seize the throne. The Sultan faced a difficult decision. Meanwhile, Gulten proudly displayed her growing belly, believing she carried the future prince. The Sultan learned of this and made his choice. He called Mustafa to his tent and killed him without even asking about his loyalties. Upon hearing the news, Djinn rushed to warn Gulten that she would be next and requested the third wish. However, she did not believe him and ran directly into the hands of the assassins. Djinn attempted to help her, but one of the assassins was a follower of the devil Iblis and possessed the power to block Djinn. Gulten was thrown into the sea, and although Djinn tried to save her by jumping in, it was too late. Now, due to the unfulfilled third wish, Djinn was bound to this world, unable to return to the realm of the Djinn until he found another master. Alethea finds this story highly ironic because it perfectly illustrates the cautionary tale she has been discussing, where making wishes has negative consequences. Djinn emphasizes once again that if no wishes are made, he will be doomed. He continues his story to support his argument. After Gulten's death, Djinn roamed as an invisible presence while his bottle remained hidden under the floor tile. For 100 years, he tried to grab people's attention, but his efforts were in vain. Then, one day, Princes Murad and Ibrahim sensed his presence and discovered the secret bathroom. They almost managed to lift the floor tile, but their mother, Kosum, the Sultan's widow, interrupted them. Djinn realized that Murad, with his long hair on his legs, was a descendant of Sheba, so he attempted to follow him in the hope of gaining his attention. Unfortunately, Murad ascended to the throne at the young age of 14, and his life became consumed by politics. While the older Murad led armies on the battlefield, Kosum confined adult Ibrahim to a room with numerous women, hoping he would produce a male heir and safeguard the family's position on the throne. Ibrahim liked being around women every day, and he chose big and beautiful women, thinking that more flesh would bring more pleasure. When Murad came back to the palace after the war, he was deeply troubled and traumatized. He thought about killing Ibrahim because he was worried about competition, but Kosum stopped him just in time. She told Murad that Ibrahim was too lazy to plan a rebellion. However, Kosum didn't want to lose Murad as a father to her child, so she kept him constantly drunk and hired storytellers to distract him. Murad didn't like the storytellers and killed them if they didn't escape quickly. But one day, an old man managed to captivate Murad with his stories and became his only friend. When the old man died, Murad got very drunk. In his weakened state, a Djinn finally got his attention. While Murad tried to find the secret bathroom again, he was too weak to open the door. Afterward, Murad drank so much that he never woke up again. No one else could sense the Djinn then, and Alethea understood what it was like to feel lonely because she had felt it too. Going back to the story, Ibrahim had to be forced out of his room to sit on the throne, and he made his favorite concubine, Sugar Lump, the governor of Damascus. Because of her power, Sugar Lump had the freedom to explore, and she eventually found the secret bathroom. Unfortunately, her size caused the tile to break when she accidentally fell on it, and she discovered the bottle. Sugar Lump didn't trust the Djinn when he appeared in front of her because he kept begging for a wish and smelled bad. Thinking he might be a trickster, Sugar Lump wished for the Djinn to go back into the bottle at the bottom of the Bosphorus. In Alethea's opinion, this story proves that making wishes is a bad idea. She thinks she could give the Djinn to someone else who might be more open to the idea, but the Djinn refuses to go back into the bottle. Next, Alethea quickly makes 3 wishes, but they are silly things, like wishing for a sip of her tea. They don't come true because wishes need to be something that deeply desires from the heart. This leads to an argument where the Djinn calls Alethea a coward, and she starts to wonder if she should wish that they never met. The Djinn cries out and begs her to stop as his bottle breaks, and there's a sudden disturbance that causes the electronics to malfunction for a few seconds. Alethea realizes that this has happened before, and the Djinn proceeds to tell the third and final story. Sphere was a young girl who was married at 12 to an older and wealthy merchant. This merchant already had 2 wives who didn't like Sphere, and she felt that everyone in the house, including the servants, was always making fun of her. The bottle came to her as a gift from her husband, who saw it fall from a fish the cook was preparing. After Sphere had shown gratitude to Djinn, he managed to open the bottle. Djinn noticed how intelligent she was and shared his own story with her. In return, Sphere shared all the things she had created in her spare time. Unfortunately, because she was a woman, nobody took her seriously. This made her feel like she had unused power, similar to a witch. Her first wish was to gain as much knowledge as possible, and Djinn was happy to grant it by giving her piles and piles of books. To keep these books hidden from her husband, they put them inside magical bottles. Djinn spent all his time with Sphere, teaching her various subjects and languages, and they eventually fell in love. As Sphere blossomed, she became less shy and started to rebel against her husband. However, her husband became obsessed with her, so whenever Sphere had to be with him, Djinn would leave and gather new stories to tell her when he returned. Sphere's second wish came when she struggled with a difficult math problem. She asked to see the world as genes do, which allowed her to find the solutions she needed. However, this wish also resulted in her becoming pregnant with Djinn's baby. Djinn was thrilled with the news and didn't want to leave Sphere to return to the realm of Djinn. He prevented her from making the third wish. This angered Sphere, as she felt trapped by Djinn, just like she felt trapped by her husband. Whenever they argued, Djinn would put himself back inside a bottle to calm her down. But one day, Sphere couldn't bear it any longer and wished to forget she ever met Djinn. Magic granted her wish, and Sphere instantly forgot everything. Djinn once again found himself trapped inside a bottle. After hearing this story, Alethea finally understands what she wants. She believes she is meant to love Djinn, so she wishes for him to love her in return. Djinn accepts her wish, and they spend a beautiful night together. The next day, Alethea must return to her home in London and offers Djinn a new bottle so he can travel with her. At the airport, Alethea tries to keep the bottle in her pocket, but it is detected by the scanner. Security makes her place it on the tray. Alethea worries that the scanner or conveyor belt might break the bottle, but it survives the inspection. Once they arrive home, Djinn struggles to adapt to the bustling city with its constant noises and electromagnetic waves. They begin a peaceful life together, and when Alethea is at work, Djinn explores humanity's latest inventions, such as advanced surgery techniques and the collider. One afternoon, Alethea returns home and finds Djinn sleeping in the basement, which he isn't supposed to do. His body is slowly turning into ashes because of the city's effect on him. Alethea uses her second wish to restore his ability to speak. They have an important conversation where Alethea realizes that she shouldn't have forced their love. She decides to set Djinn free. The bottle breaks, and Djinn returns to his original realm while Alethea falls asleep. The next morning, she puts the few things Djinn used inside a box next to her husband's belongings. 3 years later, Alethea finishes writing and illustrating a book with all of Djinn's stories. She is surprised to see Djinn appear in front of her. Now that he is healthy again, he can visit her occasionally and help alleviate her solitude in a more natural way.